So I'm so happy to be here with my friend and colleague, Teresa Shupe. Hi, Teresa.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Teresa is a brilliant Pilates instructor and a super
Wow.
smart business owner. I know, it's true. Sometimes it's hard to hear when it's right there. Hey, Lisa. It's hard to just take it in. You are a brilliant Pilates instructor and a super snappy and fun studio owner, and this is where I work at Atlas Pilates. Teresa, introduce yourself. What do you
Hi, I'm
want to
Teresa.
say?
I want to say hi to everybody and thanks for coming.
Yeah. I think we should move together
Oh,
because
really?
that will ground us. We're just gonna sit or stand here, and we're gonna go inhale 2, 3, 4, and exhale 2, 3, 4. Inhale 2, 3, 4, and anybody watching is probably a Pilates person knowing how we need to move to ground ourselves in the space, even just to talk because we're movers. We're movers. We can't really just sit and talk. It's too hard. We have to get on the same rhythm with our clients, with each other, breathing together. And that's when we land ready to be here and now.
Thank you. I feel much better now.
Yeah, I know. We'll do that in workshops. We'll do that in lessons where we need to get our clients moving. We need to get ourselves moving. Right, Teresa?
Yeah.
What happens when we talk too much?
Oh my. When we talk too much, we just need to move. It's important.
It's just so important to move. I am. So I have written some questions, and today I chose the topic of client initiation. And the way that we came up with client initiation, well, Teresa and I worked together for 20 years. She was my employee, and now I'm her employee. We both have studied Pilates and have been teaching over 20 years. And we both worked directly with Ramana. And so we vibrate in a similar way. Right, Teresa?
Yeah, I think so.
What about, tell us a little snippet of Ramana, where is she for you?
Where is she?
Or how is
She's
she?
right here in my heart. And Ramana, I just believed her. You know, I walked into my first seminar in the 19th Avenue studio. It was a small studio. And there was this lady there, and she started talking, and I just believed everything she said. Faith. I had faith based on very little.
Yeah, I was thinking about client initiation and how we basically tell people and introduce Pilates. And one thing that came to my attention, my memory, was how we used to prepare the whole studio and all the clients in the studio for Ramana's arrival. That we were so lucky in the 90s and 2000s where Ramana came to our studio for 10 days at a time. And the clients knew, and all the teachers knew, and the clients would be like, what's going on here? What's happening here? And we'd say, oh, Ramana's coming. the whole vibration of the studio. And we had to initiate clients not only to Pilates and the exercises, but for the cycles of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure.
And do you remember that time, Teresa?
Of course.
And how did you prepare? Do you remember preparing clients for her arrival?
Mostly, I guess I was much younger and it was just exciting. So mostly I was preparing myself, trying to get ready and working out a lot. And then, of course, that spilled over into the lessons because what you're working on, your clients must work on as well.
Mm-hmm.
It just happened. It just works out that way.
It's true. Yeah. What we're interested in. Yeah. And then we learn from our clients. So sometimes we walk in with what we're interested in. And then by the end of the lesson, the conversation of the lesson has actually shifted.
Yeah.
And then I wind up becoming interested in what my client is after.
Yeah.
I love that. That's learning from our clients, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how do you balance telling people what to do with helping them follow their own intuition and their own journey in their body?
I guess mostly you just have to teach them the basics and the fundamentals and you sit here and you push out and in 10 times and then you allow it to develop from there.
Mm-hmm.
You just wait until they start to show that they have a little bit of knowledge and then you start to layer in things.
Mm-hmm. And so what would be a demonstration of a client's knowledge?
That you don't have to say anything and they keep moving.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I wrote down an imaginary client internal dialogue for this.
Uh-huh.
Like, what should I do? Should I do what she's asking? Should I wait? Should I listen? Should I change the apparatus? Should I wait for her to change the apparatus? What's going on here? What is that spring? Where are they going? What's that noise? Who's that lady? Yeah, so watching for the client's understandings
Yeah.
of how do you communicate, because it's not only telling, how do you communicate your expectations for clients?
I really just tell them. I let them in on things seem so obvious to us because we love Pilates, we take a million lessons, we go through training, we study, we repeat, and then we sort of have this idea that other people already know what we know. Mm-hmm. Even the most basic thing, like your heels are supposed to be together and your toes are apart. Like, this is a starting point. And if you can't start at the starting point, we can't go and explore and develop and look at some more interesting things mm-hmm. beyond the simple thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do that. Well, we work side by side a lot. I love how you communicate the things, that you're able to break things down into simple statements and requests, like, listen to me.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
I love that one. Listen, are you listening? Like, not in any judgmental way, not like, are you listening? But just like, are you listening?
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you something.
Because you have to break through that dialogue that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying you were just saying all the internal dialogue that someone might have. And you need to cut through that somehow.
Yes. How has your experience with martial arts helped you?
Helped me, or
Like helped
teaching,
you,
or my
helped you
personal
as
stuff?
a help you as a teacher?
Um, I think it's just really the discipline and the practice. Like, it takes discipline and practice to develop something. And
Right, right.
and it sounds so simple, but it takes time and effort.
Mm. And so give an example of, maybe pick an exercise or a client type, and give some examples of how you foster discipline in your clients in lessons.
Well, they have to come.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the work is already done when they walk in the door. Most of the discipline already happened before they arrive at the studio.
Oh, so good.
Right? So once they're there, they have you as a guide, and they're practicing.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're laying there or they get up and leave, they are practicing once they've arrived. But it's the getting to the studio with your clothes on and your hair in a ponytail, or your clean socks on, or whatever. That's where all the hard stuff happens. The hard part happens before they get to the door.
And so you're a big part of preparing people to get in the door, especially being a studio owner. And so tell me about that. How do you do that?
It's similar, because once they call or walk in off the street, they've already done a lot of work as well. So you think, if they're walking in or calling, they've already had a friend tell them they should do Pilates. They've already had a friend tell them 20 times to do Pilates. They've already had a doctor tell them to do Pilates. They've already looked it up on Google. They've already found a studio in their neighborhood. They've read all the reviews. They've then inquired their other friends who do Pilates. They've already done this really long list of things. They may have even changed their meeting time on Wednesdays in order to be able to come to a class on Wednesday night at 6. So they've already done all this work. So once they're in the door, it's really the easy part. I mean, once they're in the door and you're teaching them, you just have to do your best. And if they like it, they like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the work is speaking for itself.
The work speaks for itself. And you just have to take care of yourself, and so that you have the energy and the patience to meet a brand new person where they are, with no knowledge, and or maybe a little knowledge, but right where they are, wherever they are.
Yeah, I think that's really important, especially for I think I'll say a new Pilates instructor, but any instructor probably of any discipline, where we study so much, and we develop our knowledge, and we go to continuing educations, and we work on our bodies for years, and we have so much to give, and we're so excited.
Yeah.
And then we have all this, say, it's not even on a different level. I was going to say all this information to the client, but it's not like that, is it? It's more like, well, I suppose I know more Pilates.
Yeah.
So in that way, I'm here. But that connection, I think, happens more to me here, where I have a set of exercises, Joseph Pilates and Ramana gave me, thank you very much. And the client comes in with a set of expectations or desires, and then how do we match those? And it's the teacher's responsibility to make that match. And I think we can just blast. We can really blast on people all the things that they could do and should do, and all the things that are available, and all the apparatus and all the principles. Do them all right now.
Because it comes from a good place.
Yeah.
We want, like you said, we want so much for them.
Yeah. I know. I find, what do you do when you want so much for your person and you feel do you ever get frustrated when you're teaching?
Yes.
And why do you think that is?
Because I think they should already know and be disciplined and interested enough in trying harder. It comes down to, like, I have them for 50 minutes. So I do have an agenda. I have some kind of an agenda. I feel like I do want to give them information. And if you're going to practice, if you only have 50 minutes to practice, then you got to spend that time practicing. And if you're talking to me, asking me questions about my personal life, or not focusing, that's lost time practice. Like I was saying earlier, the discipline and the practice. So I get frustrated, but then I remember, like, oh yeah, I already know how to do that. They don't know how to do that. And it's my job to help them, and it's going to take time.
So what's an example of a time that you were frustrated and that you found something to break through your frustration?
Oh, how I changed?
Yeah.
How I felt? It just, I guess it often happens when there's the aha moment, like the client goes, I still remember teaching a client who I still have. She's been with me for like more than 15 years. And it was like 10 years in. And she goes, why do you want me to put my heels together? And I was like, luckily I had a great answer. Because I had thought a lot about why. And it was on the tip of my tongue, and then she started doing it. And so I guess the answer to the question is that she got into, like, I saw the spark, or I heard, in this case, she said something that made me realize that she was interested in this. And then the next year, we had our heels together. And for all and it's not about the heels together, right? There's a reason why we do it. It wasn't about that detail that was so, like, you needed her to put her heels together because I wanted her to put her heels together. Put your heels together for a reason, based on the principles and how to help develop the body.
Yeah, telling people why.
Yeah.
Boy, that's important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Romana was always after us. Tell people why they're doing what they're doing.
She said that a lot.
She said it a lot.
She always said it.
Yeah, I moved to Gettysburg, to this rural area, when I was 16, and all my new friends. Well, first I learned about keggers and how to have parties in fields, and they were like, when you get to the fence, duck. When you get to the fence, duck. Duck when you get to the fence. And everyone told me this. I was like, all right, I get it. I duck when I get to the fence. And of course, when I got to the fence, I did not duck. And I learned about this cattle wire thing, like right on my head.
Oh my God. Duck because you'll be electrocuted.
Yeah.
Is more powerful, right?
Oh yeah, it would have been way more powerful if they said, don't get electrocuted. Don't get zapped by the wire.
And then you would say, how do I not get zapped by the wire?
Exactly. Then I'm really interested.
Now you're
and I'm
learning.
very curious.
Yeah, now you're learning something.
I'm not just following a command.
Yeah.
I'm learning and I'm involved. And now the client, to me, it's like the teacher's in the lead. And then the client, so who's leading and who's following. And as soon as we see, I call it a door opening, as soon as we see the door of interest open, we jump through. And we might wait years for that. Like just this week, I have a client who holds her wrist in a certain way, and she can't really make a fist. She holds her wrist in a certain way. And for some reason, the stars aligned. And I told her, and she might be on this because she's one of my Instagram friends. She'll know it's her. I told her that her thumb is part of her, I want to say fibula, but it's not your fibula. It's this bone here, which the word is escaping me right now.
Arm bone.
Arm bone. Your thumb is part of your arm bone. And the stars aligned, and she made the best fist that she has ever made.
Yay!
Radius! Thank you, Augie Doggy. I knew someone was going to help me out. There's something strange about first being on camera, and then there's another funny thing about being live. Like my brain kind of like goes, psh, and there's an empty spot. Oh, good. Everyone's helping with the radius. So, yeah, I like talking about this word initiation that Teresa and I, of course, we've taught together for many years, and I'm the director of education at Atlas Pilates, and we have apprentices. And at a certain point, we have the basic and the intermediate and the advanced. And so we got into this discussion many times. When is a client advanced? What does advanced mean? And so Teresa and I have really dug into this concept of what is advanced. Right, Teresa?
Yeah.
What is advanced at Atlas Pilates, Teresa?
Advanced is you are, well, it's related to what we were talking about, where you're interested and you are going in. We sometimes say, oh, they dropped in, or they're going in. And there's someone who wants to go in and learn, pay attention, and who does ask questions. Now, we don't sit around and we move a lot. It's not like we're answering questions all during the session, but talking about like maybe one question per week or something. They know how to get on and off. You know, they're safe in the studio. You can send them across the room to get on the electric chair or the Wunda chair, and you know that they're going to be safe. I mean, that's it, kind of. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no, like, you don't have to be able to do a specific exercise or set of exercises to be advanced.
Yeah. Yeah, so we came up with this thing like, well, it does advanced mean being able to do all the exercises that are in a certain list, like the back bends or the big balance exercises or whatever, the kind of the hard exercises. Does that mean someone's advanced? And what if somebody can do those exercises, but they're not really bringing the principles along? Is
Right.
that still an advanced client?
You mean you could label it that way, but no, I would say, so the way I guess I could think about it is if, so that person that you're talking about who can perform the exercises, that's the difference. Performing and embodying are different. And so say that person came to me and was like, I think I want to become a teacher. All of a sudden, my eyes, I'm like, oh, you aren't ready. You can, and they might be really confused by that because they might be like, well, I can do all these things. I'm doing all the advanced work. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not ready because, and then have to figure out how to, but hopefully we don't have people at our studio like that because we're developing. If someone walked in off the street and they had been doing Pilates for 10 years somewhere else and they could do all these crazy advanced stuff, but they didn't embody the principles, like you said, we would start chunking away at those. And they would either like it or they might not like it. They might be like, oh, this isn't for me, and leave. But if they like it, then we would start working on those skills. I don't know if that makes sense. That it's there's a richness in the throughout. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, really know thyself and practicing the Pilates method is different than performing a set of exercises. So I think we eventually kind of landed on the word initiation. And initiation, like, oh, this client knows what they're doing, what they're about, what the studio is about, how to be safe, how to follow directions, at any level. So even the most, even somebody who's doing maybe 10 exercises, someone who knows 10 exercises,
they can come.
And they can come.
And they can be in a semi-private, for example. And they could be in a semi-private next to someone who's a teacher. I mean, I take lessons from you with people who are, I can do a lot more than them. And I do that on there's like a strategy to that too, like to, you can raise someone up and get them interested, or you can drop down. And it's not a looking down on this person. It's like the energy more. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I think we have Pilates is taught either like private, one-on-one, and at a certain point, Ramana called that eyeball to eyeball. And she's like, you don't need to teach people eyeball to eyeball. You need to teach people what to do, and then they do it. Yeah. And that's a big part of how I learned from her in New York. I went and I did the exercise that she taught me, and then she walked away. And then, you know. And then
you're on your own.
Carrie Regan would walk by and be like, what are you doing? You should do this. And then I had 2 exercises, and you know, I was on the dancer scholarship, so I was taught in maybe even a more independent kind of way. People did take private lessons back then, but I had more of this kind of how we teach semi-privates. So, so there's the private lesson, one-on-one, and then there's a class. And in a class, many, and I've totally have done this, and I do this when I teach mat classes, that they're synchronized. There's a way of moving in a synchronized way so that everybody in the class is doing the same exercise at the same time. And so how do you, well, I'll just finish this thought, and then the way that Teresa's explaining the semi-private is a way of kind of like doing simultaneous privates.
Yeah, semi-private. It's in the name.
Semi-private.
It's not a class.
It's not a
yeah,
class.
it's a semi-private, sort of, partly a private.
Yeah.
I mean, I just kind of took that literally.
Yeah, it's so good. And this is one of the many things that I love about Teresa and working with Teresa, the ability to articulate and clarify these points. So initiating or preparing is another word, preparing somebody to be in semi-private is a different process than preparing somebody to be in a class. Would you say that's true, Teresa?
Maybe not.
So what's the same about the preparation?
I just when I teach people, I have the idea that they're like, this doesn't always happen, but that they should be able to, I have in my mind that they should be able to eventually come to this. We also do self-workouts where people can come and work out on their own without a teacher. And I have that in my mind, that how is this, I'm going to teach this person so that they can do that. And most people don't end up doing that because it's too hard. It takes a lot of practice and time.
And discipline.
Energy. But I teach everyone the same. It's just their timelines are really different. Because, for example, in a class, like we don't have very many mat classes at all, where we have a few mat classes. But in a mat class, you should also have the ability the student should know thyself. We say it at the beginning of the class. We say, leave out an exercise that doesn't agree with you. But we really mean that. And we really foster we teach them how to understand what that means. So that they know that, like, oh, I'm going to go, when they're out in real life, the way it applies in real life is like, oh, they want to move this rock in their garden. And they look at it, they size it up, and they realize, oh, I'm not going to be able to pick that up without, like, they know, they look at it, they kind of give it a feel, and they decide in their imagination, their mind's eye, like, I'm going to need a tool to move this, instead of just doing it and realizing too late that they have hurt themselves. Or it also works the other way. They want to move a rock, they size it up, they feel it out, and they go, oh, I can do this. I recognize in my body that I can pick this up and move it over there. And that's knowing, that's how it applies in real life. And we're trying to teach them the same thing in Pilates, like they see a client, they see someone do something else next to them, they roll over, and they've practiced and they understand, like, this is, maybe I shouldn't do that. But they want to learn. The cool thing is, if maybe they want to learn, they're like, oh, that's a cool thing, I want to be able to do that. They go to their teacher and they say, hey, what's that exercise that woman did, oh, that's the rollover. Oh, we can work on that. Okay, now you have now you have a project. The teacher's excited, the student's excited, and it might take them a year to be able to do it. Depends on the person. Or you'd be like, oh yeah, you can totally do that, because you know them. You've worked with them maybe for a long time, and you go, oh yeah, you're healthy. You don't have any shoulder, neck, whatever issues, and I can help you. We can, but so hopefully we're teaching people to be able to, do not only their Pilates, but move around in the world in a way that's graceful, and they don't get injured, but they can do cool, fun stuff too.
Yeah, it might be the day where you say, oh, you want to do the rollover? Okay, everybody else, leg circles. you know. And now, come here. Give me your feet.
Yeah.
Roll down.
Yeah.
Give me your
Yeah.
feet. Other side, you guys. We'll do it again. Roll down and coming up. Roll down. Now you're going to skip the leg circles. Okay, everybody, let's roll like a ball.
Yeah.
So for us to
And
be
that takes
able
a lot
to,
of practice as a
yeah,
teacher, right?
yeah,
So while your clients are developing to become advanced, you're as a teacher, you're becoming advanced. And becoming advanced as a teacher doesn't just mean you can teach teachers how to do back bends and fancy tricks, which is also a skill, which is hard and you have to develop and takes time. But it's not the only thing makes you a advanced teacher.
yeah.
Makes you an advanced teacher is being able to do what you just described.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so every student under our watch or in our studio, we have a pulse on whether they're in a class or in a semi-private or in a private. I mean, the privates are the easiest place to get a pulse on a person.
Yeah.
And where you get to know, like, oh, when I say lift your arm and they go like this. You say pick your head up and they go like this.
Yes.
And then you say back bend and they go like this. You know, you're learning about that person. When I make a request, when I put something into the black box, what comes out of the black box?
Yeah.
And so we want to have a pulse on everybody so that in a class, even in a class, that we can
set them up for success.
Set everybody up for success. So they know, I guess when I ask, well, what's different to prepare someone for a semi-private or for a class? I guess the biggest part that jumps out is the timing of it. Like,
yeah,
in a class, everyone's going to usually be doing leg circles together. Everyone's going to kind of be doing the 100 together. And it gets too weird if you say the 100 and one person does the 100 and 4 other people do rolling like a ball. You know, it's going to start to get weird.
Yeah.
So we have to prepare our students. Like, this just kind of came up with somebody, with one of our shared people, that in a class that you don't have to do the range that everybody else is doing or the speed that everyone else is doing. So the whole class might be going around and up and around and up. And this client, it was a much harder exercise. I don't remember, but she was trying to do the same speed and the same range as the rest of the class. And it was like really hard. And we taught her, you can do, while everybody else is going 5 times, you can go once. But when the teacher says, roll like a ball, we kind of want you to stop and roll like a ball, or do whatever your version of rolling like a ball is, so that there's a time element in a class where everybody is kind of doing this together. You can do your own version of it, but you're kind of doing this. And in a semi-private, it's a little bit different.
Well, I think we teach semi-privates differently because we teach them like, I don't teach semi-privates like a class unless that's like what we decide to do. Meaning like if I have a couple teachers and I want to move them together and lay on maybe an idea I have or a concept, then I want them together for a reason, because I'm like the timing thing.
You're delivering.
I need to deliver. I'm trying to keep them moving and deliver information. And if people are doing different things, I can't be successful in that. But in general, our daily clients that come 2 to 3 times a week and are in semi-privates, they're coming and going, and it's like I'm conducting like an orchestra. Like, they're doing, one could be on the Cadillac, one could be on the Reformer. And it's not like the person on the Cadillac is doing the Reformer on the Cadillac. They're just doing their own workout. And then then we bounce around between them.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes a lot of upfront work, discipline, information to get them to that point.
Right. So it's you've been teaching 20 years, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess what excites me about sharing this with people is some teachers, well, I travel and I teach at a lot of places and a lot of studios, and I think sometimes a teacher will feel like only advanced clients can move independently. Advanced meaning what we said, being able to do bigger back bends in the advanced list, or move faster, bigger, stronger. And so this gets me excited to share this idea that a client of any level and any body type and any mind-body coordination, even some people who have
like brain injuries or something.
Yeah, like brain injury. A client of any level can learn these things, and it opens up a lot. It's really exciting to teach a client who continuously evolves, and they don't get bored. The teacher stays excited because we're like recycling and reinvesting in these exercises, and it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting. And I think Pilates teachers can surely get burned out if we're teaching out, in, pull in your stomach, get tall, fix your feet. Why aren't your feet fixed? And if you're saying the same thing over and over, it starts to not be juicy. So
I mean, give people credit, give clients credit. Like, they're living in their bodies, like, for whatever, their whole life. And yes, they have a lot to learn, and yes, they have a lot people have a lot, teachers have a lot to give. Mm-hmm. But like, if they're lying on how much can go wrong if you're lying on the floor with your leg in the air? Like, how dangerous is this? Could this possibly be, right? Exactly. Like, you're lying down. You're not even like walking around across the street in traffic. You're like lying down on the floor, moving your leg in a circle. Like, it doesn't have to be so precious all the time.
Yeah, precious. That's one thing that drives me crazy is
let them practice.
Like, I think I allow a lot of messiness in my clients. And that's all learning. All the messiness is learning. Just because if we tell somebody to do this and they do this, it doesn't mean that they're not trying to do this.
Right.
That we give a task and then we let them chew on it and let them do it. Yeah.
It's hard sometimes. It takes a lot of patience.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't teach a lot of privates, because I would get because they need the time, and because I'm just going to be standing there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have a lot to give. I want to maximize that. I want to put output more. And then in a semi-private where you say, do 10 leg circles each way on each leg, and then you walk away, they have time to practice, and you get to go do something else. You get to go solve a puzzle on another body, where, and you give a tidbit or something, instead of in a private, you say go 10 circles one way, and it's fine. Like they're making a circle, they're not doing anything, they're not hurting themselves. So then you do have to stand there. And I mean, you don't have to. You could just lay on all the cues and ask for more and change it and give variations. But then the client maybe never really knows what's the base of that exercise, because you're always changing it.
Right. Yeah.
You're changing it to suit you, it's not like to make yourself feel useful, but there is a tendency to do that. Like,
oh, no, for sure.
Because you want to be useful and you want to give output and you want to give them. But if you can let them, and then the problems will, not the problems, but you'll know what they don't know by walking away. Because if you walk away, you'll know if they're ready. Like, so I've done that where I say do, and they really actually can't do it. They can't lie there, lift a leg, do 5 one way, 5 the other way, switch their legs, do 5 one way, 5. For some reason, it's not like they can't do it. They're capable of doing it, but for whatever reason, they can't remember. Then you kind of have to believe, like, oh, they really can't do it without me.
Yeah.
And this is the client who really needs a private.
Yeah.
They really actually do need me to stand here and guide them through this. To us, so simple, right? Lift a leg, make 5 circles one way, 5. But to them, it's not simple. So they really do need me to stand here, help them. But my hope is that changes over time. And I'll say, I want you to remember this. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to remember it for the next time. But stating that, it plants the seed that you have an expectation of them. Sometimes, I don't think this is I've been working on this analogy, but it doesn't always, but I don't think it's great. But like if you wanted to take piano lessons and then you had to say, so you went to your piano, you're the teacher and you're like, okay, put your thumbs, you always put your thumbs on the same place. You place your hands in the same place. Or a flute, I used to play the flute. So you have to know, like, oh, you put your thumb on this pad, you skip that one and you put it over there and da-da-da. So then say every time your student came in to take a flute lesson, you had to say, pick up the flute. Put your thumb on this pad, put your finger on this pad, put your finger on this pad, put your finger on this, so on. Now make your mouth in this shape. Put your mouth on the thing. Okay, now blow across the flute. It's obvious to someone who wants to play the flute that they need to do all those things to start playing the first note. It becomes very quickly they understand. But for some reason, I guess because the instrument is their body, I think this is what I've come up with, is like they don't understand, like, come lie down on the mat, lie in the center of the mat, put your heels together, toes apart. It's like the starting point. It's not the exercise. It's not the important part. But you have to start there. You have to start somewhere. And a client who they need to be told, I want you to remember this. And for, like if you're learning to play the flute, you don't have to tell somebody, I want you to remember to put your fingers on these keys. But there's like there's a missing, there's something that I don't do. I haven't figured it out yet. So other people can let me know what they come up with. But I've just figured out that you have to tell people, I want you to remember this. This is just the beginning. This is actually not the exercise. This isn't the juicy stuff. This isn't the fun part. This isn't the part where it's going to change your body.
Yeah.
This is just the starting point.
Yeah, well, I think that, in some exercise classes, that is the name of the game. The name of the game is the teacher says, lift your arm, you lift your arm. Then the teacher says, sit down, you sit down. It's like Simon Says. And in Pilates is different than Simon Says. And sometimes some classes are like, it can be Simon Says, and that can be really super fun.
Yeah.
And that can also be a dead end where you're,
Yeah.
if that's all you're doing every class, starts to become mechanical, which is exactly one of the things Joe Pilates cautioned against. So yeah, actually telling people, remember this or do this. And each time you come, you're going to
Do this.
do this. You're going to pull your stomach in, or you're going to do what I say, and you're going to report this or that, or you're going to stop if blah, 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 or you're going to keep going even though you want to stop, or whatever the name of the game is. Actually stating it, really big deal. Really big deal. So let me ask you this. Let's see. Wow, we really got through a lot of my questions just by going free flow. Oh, alignment or control? What's first? If you're going to
Control.
Oh, why? Alignment or control?
You can't have alignment in motion without control.
Mm-hmm. And
I mean, alignment in standing still is also could be called control. Controlling yourself from moving.
Controlling yourself.
While you focus on the alignment.
Oh yeah, it's the
right?
focus.
If you're standing there and you want someone to align something, they have to control their self from moving so they can concentrate on the alignment. And then if you want them to move, they have to have control before you work on alignment. Because otherwise they'll be out of control.
Okay. Stretch or strength?
Strength. I mean, you can always, this is where you can play and have fun. And we're looking for balance, as we all know. But I always go, for my personal body, I go for strength because my nature is stretch. So the work is in the strength end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And strength is part of the control.
Centering or rhythm?
Centering.
I love your confident answers, Teresa. And command or invitation?
Invitation.
Oh. So when we're sharing this work, Pilates, initiating people to maybe the method itself, or a new apparatus, or a new teacher, or a new day, or a new injury, it's always introducing, it's always changing. It's a continuously deepening concept, I think, initiation. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, we can't just throw the whole pearl necklace at somebody. We're going to be asking or suggesting one thing at a time. So that's where I came up with that list. Like, which thing would I suggest first? Would I teach this person about someone who's really stiff and like a tree trunk? Would I choose centering, or would I choose rhythm?
Rhythm.
So that person, I might choose rhythm. Maybe the centering will kind of shake out, getting the movement going first. So I think we have received such a beautiful playground of work from Joseph Pilates, through our amazing teacher, Ramana. And Pilates just keeps on giving.
It does.
It's really great.
Never gets boring.
Never gets boring. Just now, before I came, I was almost late because my neighbor, he bought a pie he's like, they have a sale on pies, Central Market. So I'm like, oh. So anyway, we started with pies, and we wound up talking about Pilates. It was really great. And so now he's like, oh, Pilates sounds fun. Then maybe, yeah. So we can pretty much bring anything back around to Pilates.
That's our job.
That's our job and our passion.
That's our orientation. Yeah.
Yeah.
To the world.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you so much for joining, Teresa.
Thank you, Lori.
I'm always thinking I'm going to keep this to 20 minutes and an hour later. I'm just so enjoying chatting with my friends. You're awesome, Teresa Shupe.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming, people. All the people out there.
Okay. Bye. Bye, Dominique. Bye, Lizzie.
Bye.
Hey, the other Teresa. Okay. Bye. Click.